I'm dedicating this to my dog. Just going through Darwin's On the Origin of Species for you, which you could do with your dog over on Wikisource, but already having done this for you to do with your dog over on Wikisource to close your theory of you think apes invented writing in the year 3200 BC because you think this had something to do with early man. No, Jan, let's keep reading and just go, that's kind of silly. That one is not even scientific. This is, you did not read your theory, kids. Kids, you did not even read your theory. Oh, apes invented writing in the year 3200 BC. We grew up from these early men and we created. I love the movie Alpha. Super Cave Boy fell on a narrow ledge. You're 22 trillion fucking dollars in debt. You, Mr. President Trump built you a wall. I want world peace. So I'm just taking this out and saying apes did not. This has nothing to do with man. Nothing to do. This has something to do with your dog. Yeah, on the origin of the species by means of natural selection. So something to do with your dog or the preservation of the favored races. Where'd races come from? Did Australian Aboriginal 65,000, 75,000 years, are they a race? Kennewick Man, Native America, are they a race? How does that work? Because Australian 65,000 years, Kennewick Man 9,200-year-old fossil remains. All of these race-related Neolithic settlements all over the place, older than the James Ussher chronology. Did these, what would they doing without writing? And that did not appear until the year 3200 BC. Why did they not need writing? Why did they not need this internet? Why did they not need cars? Why did they not need everything you've created? Why did they not? They had the capacity. Australia and the Aboriginal have been there for 65, 75,000 years. They're fine without you. I think they were better off without you, to be honest, because right here, shoot, when On the Origin of the Species was published in 1859, and I'll remind you, that was 20 fucking years before the light bulb, the worlds of thought and religion were jolted to their very foundation. So don't be jolted that I'm instructing you to use your dog to close this theory of your evolution history remnants of, my goodness, you're sociological and psychologically impaired by this theory. Up to then, their very foundations by the theory of apes inventing writing in 3200 BC with cute little pictures of cavemen growing up to be your children, which it proposed. Up to then, practically everyone accepted the biblical chronology published in the 17th century by Bishop James Ussher. Okay, 17th century. When was that exactly? 17th century. When was that exactly? When was the 17th? I'm going to see just do some, let's see. Human evolution is the evolutionary process that led to the emergence of anatomically modern humans, beginning with the evolutionary history of primates. Apes like the primates you visit in the zoo in the year 2019. I think there's only 500,000 of them left. In particular, genus Homo, and leading to the emergence of Homo sapiens as a distinct species. Why don't you just say that what that is? Wow, you miscalculated Earth history because you were scared of James Ussher being wrong. And 25% of the United States still has this delusional characteristic where you think God magically poofed the Earth into existence in 4004 BC. I'm going to remind you, let's see. At the same year which he published that first book, Darwin married his first cousin. Yay! And not long afterwards, they moved into the village of Down, like Down syndrome. Here, Darwin wrote, on the origin of your delusional characteristic of not thinking about Aboriginal as, man, all of these people, they're not you. He was never a well man, Darwin. So you teach this shit? But his frailty did not interfere with his work. But his frailty, he was never very well. On the origin of this species was reviewed by Bishop Samuel Wilberforce for the Quarterly Review. Mr. Darwin writes as a Christian. He commented, yeah, in 1859, 20 years before the light bulb getting published, if you did not write like a Christian, you didn't get anything printed. The first record of writing, 3200 BC, 3400 BC. Let me just Google. When did man invent writing? Oh, when did you invent your keyboard? When writing, a system of graphic marks represented the units of a specific language, has been invented independently in the Near East, China, and Mesoamerica. The cuneiform script, created in Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, 3200 BC was first. From that point forward, it's just God making fun of you. The Sumerian, archaic pre-cuneiform writing, the Egyptian, out of Egypt, I'll call my son, hieroglyphs are generally considered the earliest true writing system. That's a good one. Both emerging out of their ancestral proto-literate symbol forms from 3400. So here you're 600 years off to 3100 BC. Emerging from, you're giving a hell of a lot of credit to you have a young earth creation cult. If anyone is delusional enough to teach that this earth is only 6,000 years old, they have a medical and mental illness. Cut, dry, end of story. This medical and mental delusional characteristic is why you fight and argue about every fucking thing, and why you're $250 trillion in debt. You are nothing but a token to God. From 3200 BC to the year 2019, your world history is flat. With apes invented right, apes grew up to become cavemen who invented writing. We're so delusional. Apes, because you're scared of James Ussher being wrong. Apes invented writing because you're scared of James Ussher being wrong. And by the way, you both being wrong is a single corrective point. Let's get out of 250 trillion fucking dollars of debt. Go over to Wikisource and use your dog to close your theory of your delusional origin of you being an ape who invented writing in the year 3200 BC, 3400 BC, because you personally miscalculated Earth history. Oh, it'll be so hard. Let's use my dog. Let's use my dog. Let's use my dog. Let's use my dog. He was a beautiful little Yorkie. His name was Maxwell. Had him here for 14 years and 7 months. He was euthanized on 3/7/2018. He was a good little dog. Weirdest decision I'd ever made. I didn't buy him for me, but kept him because I bought him and promised to give him a good life, and until took him home in my Saab 900. I was driving a 900 SE back then, and took him home in that, and my little Yorkie laying on my lap is like, till death do us part. And I waited until he said, "Dad, I gotta go today," and I had him scheduled for Friday. He said Wednesday. It was it. Poor little guy. I miss him like crazy. Are you going to miss apes inventing writing, magically growing up to become you because James Ussher was wrong? Are you? Apes invented writing. Your children apes. What the hell is that about? You're deluding your children to the point of an unconscious capability to even teach them with pictures of apes growing up into becoming your children. The same apes that you visit the zoo invented writing. Yeah, fucking right. You know, that's a bunch of malarkey. You're deluding your children. When we compare the individuals of the same variety or subvariety of our older cultivated plants and animals, one of the first points which strikes us is they generally differ more from each other than do the individuals of any one species or variety in a state of nature. Yeah, so you have wild sheep and you have domesticated sheep. You have wild goats, you have domesticated goats, and they differ. Duh. And if we reflect on the vast diversity, like Nell at Life Science, looking at a fossil remain of a flea, the fleas that jump on your dog, go over to Google. Fossil remain of flea. Nell at Life Science. He has these big lumbering louses, lice, whatever you call those things. Big, 10 times larger than your modern flea because it was way back when and they did not evolve. They reduced in size to be able to jump on your dog blip, using those massive same prehistoric fleas. But now, at Life Science, being a Darwinian delusionist, is saying, I know it's older than James Ussher bullshit. And at some point, still not pinpointed in the fossil record, fleas evolved amazingly strong hind legs. He's looking at the amazingly strong hind legs, but because this ancient prehistoric flea that fed on dinosaurs were moving pretty slow. They were big lumbering louse and lumbered over to the dinosaur, crawled up its leg, fed off of the dinosaur, and today it jumps on your dog. At some point, still not pinpointed in the fossil record. Fleas evolved amazingly strong on legs. He made that up. And then he goes on, yeah, fleas evolved from feeding on plant fluid, and fleas evolved from feeding on, yeah, when they weren't getting squished by the dinosaurs that are older than the James Ussher chronology. Before you personally, an ape who invented writing in 3200 BC, invented so early man, the Australian Aboriginal, how'd they take care of their fleas 40,000 years ago? Yeah, the movie Alpha. I really like the movie Alpha. Super Kid Boy fell on a narrow ledge. At least Hollywood knew that the Earth is older than 6,000 years. When I went and saw that in the theater, I was actually kind of surprised. Oh shit! There's not a bunch of Christians here debating. Oh, we got to burn this place down because they're teaching our children that the Earth is older than 6,000 years old. Remember, he fell on a very narrow ledge. So when we compare my Maxwell, when he was 3 months old, we were watching Discovery Channel together, and there were howling wolves. And this cute little 3-month-old Yorkie goes, three times. They kind of pushed out his skirt. He was trying to howl. And on the third try, it was so cute. A little 3-month-old Yorkie. It was so fucking cute. So cute. Max was a weird little dog, though. He preferred mating with cats. He rejected female dogs. It had nothing to do with them. He's like, he had his bitch Westie, and it was also new sign language because I'm a good trainer. I know apes didn't become me, and I have dominion over my animals. And so my dog, he's he was such howling like a wolf. It was so cute. So there might be some like weird, yeah, they might, yeah, the wolf dog thing. Yeah, world history. 25% of you deludable people are gullible enough to believe that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, while the remainder of everyone is gullible enough to believe that Darwin provided you a theory that taught you early mankind had anything to do with this theory. You didn't have anything else because you did not have the Bible. It's in the Bible that God and Moses spoke face to face. God speaking face to face as friends with Moses had Moses write down, "Let us make man in our image." Well, are you one of those Australian Aboriginal have remained there for 65,000 years? Why don't you guys just say, "Hey, what you guys who believe in James Ussher, we're offended by you. This guy on internet is offended because his dog's offended that you think apes became you, and and then go research Kennewick Man a little bit better, please, because they did fine without you." They did fine without you. They did fine without you. Figure out why, please. They did fine without you because they understood what it meant to be peaceful. Understood what it meant to be hunting and gathering. They understood what it meant to live. They understood a lot better than the modern humans who will just entertain themselves on uh, Facebook, who entertain themselves by sending their kids to school. They entertain themselves by uh, what do you do? What do you do? You're a token to God. You're a token to God with $250 trillion in debt, debating about everything. You're a token to God. You don't even, okay, you don't want to believe in him? Okay, I spoke face to face. I said, "Let us make man in our image." Well, look at what you've done. Look at what you've done. You can figure out in under 7 minutes how old the earth is by reading the Bible if you actually understood how to read it. In Genesis 1:9, it describes Pangea. And that means that you have a young earth creation cult. Got questions.internetcult.org. That means this group is fostering and feathering both the Darwinian illusion and the young creation delusion together in the same. Let's debate. Let's not even discuss. No, take your dogs into On the Origin of the Species. When we compare together, you'll find out that your dog is all you needed to know that apes did not become you. The same variety or the sub-variety of our older cultivated plants and animals. One of the first points which strikes us is that they generally differ much from each other than do the individuals in the variety in the state of nature. And as we reflect how little you don't know about the time before 4004 BC and how God squished your world history flat like a bug because you didn't reflect. Sorry.